Hi there, this is Qian. It is my great honor to share with you our work, The Future of HCI Policy Collaboration. This is a joint work with Richmond Wong, Steve Jackson, Sabine Junginger, Margaret Hagan, Tom Gilbert, and John Zimmerman. I also want to thank all the participants of our CHI 23 workshop on this topic. Your work and discussion were a fabulous source of inspiration for us. Computation's societal impact has become a critical concern for HCI. At least three forces together shape computation's societal impact. First, the incentives, deterrences, and rules that are wired into computational systems themselves. The social rules and cultural tendencies among people, and also the external rules is imposed by authorities that govern both systems and people. These rules can include corporate policies, government regulations, government laws. In this talk, I will refer to them all as policy, just for simplicity. Take privacy as an example. How well a new mobile app will protect user privacy depends not just on the design of the app or users' privacy awarenesses, but also on App Store's privacy mandates and regulatory fines posed by organizations like the US Federal Trade Commission. These policies play a key role in shaping these apps' societal impact. Now, in many cases, HCI researchers and practitioners are already really successful in understanding and designing policy to improve technology's societal impact. Yet in many other cases, policy considerations lagged behind. In the US, at least, where I am based, from gig work to social media, too often HCI seemed to become excited about the technology first, take an interest in policy only after things have gone off rails, and then find itself in this unenviable position of trying to put guineas back into bottles. Calls for more HCI policy collaborations have persisted over the past decade. However, the challenges of HCI policy collaboration also persisted. For example, it is difficult to bring policymakers to the table, and the evidence HCI methods typically generate does not always align with the type of evidence that policymakers need. Prior work referred to all these challenges as challenges at the boundaries of HCI and policy. The authors of this paper came together out of this shared interest in overcoming these challenges. But we didn't want to just write another paper that calls for more HCI policy collaboration. Now, nothing is wrong in calling for such collaborations, and we think we definitely need more HCI policy collaborations, but we do wonder whether a fresh perspective on these challenges might inspire new strategies to overcome them. So we wrote a very different paper. In this paper, we ask, what if HCI were to see policy as integral to its intellectual concerns? What if we place system, people, policy interaction nearer the center of HCI research, practice, and education? I know it is a provocative question, but hear me out. Consider how HCI studies human-computer interaction. Some HCI projects advance human understanding, but do provide implications for system design. Some HCI projects make a system contribution based on an understanding of human complexities. As such, HCI has a wealth of methods and knowledge that bridge system and human expertise And these methods and expertise are distinctively HCI. They are different from system work in computer science or human understanding work in humanities. Can we envision the same for system, people, policy interaction? We know this three-way interaction is central to computers' societal impact, something HCI very much cares about. In this context, can we embrace policy not just as the broader impact of our intellectual achievement in human-computer interaction, but see policy as an integral part of it? What if we cultivate a wide spectrum of distinctively HCI methods that blend system, human, and policy expertise in different ways, just like what we have done with blending system and human expertise? In this paper, we sketch out this reimagined HCI policy landscape as a provocation, and we demonstrate its three benefits. First, we demonstrate how it can shed light on previously overlooked HCI methods and projects where system, people, and policy expertise have already started cross-pollinating. In the paper, we described more examples, and we described examples across HCI's empirical, design, and futuring work. Here, I will just give one example, service design. Although service designers do not always mention the word policy, they routinely shape user experience by designing system, human, and policy interactions. For instance, when service designers specify a freemium model for a new app, they specify policies around who can access which quality of service at what price, a simple microeconomic policy. For service designers who work in the public sector, this line between microeconomic policy within an app and a macroeconomic policy for a large public service, that line can very much become blurred. So what lessons can we learn from this body of service design work? What can we learn about how to choreograph system, people, and policy interactions for human benefits? If we recognize policy as part of HCI, we can gain a lot of new lessons about how to design, address HCI and policy simultaneously. Second, putting policy nearer the center of HCI can also inspire new approaches to overcoming these challenges of HCI policy collaboration. For example, HCI scholars in the past have debated, is implication for design necessary for HCI's empirical work? Is implication for design a good measure of the quality of empirical work? HCI debates these questions because we know that because HCI is a field where many disciplines converge, it is valuable to take a step back and deliberate on and reassessing the relationship between different disciplines, assumptions, and approaches. So, if we recognize policy as part of HCI's concerns, we can also become more thoughtful and have a more open discussion around the tensions and relationships between HCI and policy work. For example, is implications for policy necessary for HCI's system innovation papers? Is implications for policy necessary for or useful for reports of technological harm? What makes some implications for policy more useful than others? In this paper, we presented a set of emergent HCI policy hybrid methods. We ask, are these methods useful? Are they HCI enough? Or are they just too policy or too weird? Through these discussions, HCI might gain new insights into how HCI and policy expertise can cross-pollinate, just like how system and human expertise cross-pollinate in today's HCI work. Finally, putting policy nearer the center of HCI is also important for amplifying HCI's collective impact on policy outcomes. Many implications for policy have been written in HCI work. However, policy interventions are not a cure-all. Very often, government policies and consumer tech products favor the rich and resourceful. So, what are the policies, affordances, and limitations in comparison to other HCI tools like community organizing? When is appending a thoughtful implications for policy to the end of a classic HCI paper already sufficient? In what context is establishing deep, ongoing partnership with policymakers necessary? LLM societal impact, for example, can seem like the latter. Writing implications for policy seems not the most productive way, but I would be interested in hearing what you think about these questions. Also, when writing implications for policy is not enough, can HCI institutions help? For example, and again, this is an idea for provocation, can HCI proceedings accept literature reviews that synthesize prior HCI works, implications for policy, and make them into actionable policy proposals? Can HCI offer a short paper track, for example, where researchers can share their responses to regulatory agencies for calls for comments, such that we can train and encourage early career HCI folks to also engage with policy? These questions are missing from the current HCI literature, but can be very useful for this community discussion. Now, technologies today are changing. In today's technology discourses, people are not just users and consumers. They are members of communities, citizens, and participants in lived democracy. Technologies are not just systems, they are social technical platforms and cyber infrastructure that govern societal processes. It is in this context that we argue that HCI should re-examine the relationship among systems, people, and policy, and HCI should reflect on how we want to position ourselves in this three-way relationship. We envision a future in which HCI researchers can deliberate on when and when not to use policy as a tool to address computation's societal impact. We envision a future in which, when a sudden momentum for policy change appears, HCI communities can quickly assemble our diverse related work and seize the opportunity. We envision a future in which our HCI institutions, can help current and future HCI researchers and practitioners to better move forward towards these goals. And on this note, I want to conclude my talk and thank you for your attention.